Hello and welcome back. If you remember from the last couple of videos, we left you with the basic if statement, which is a single selection, and the concept that it passes and does, when it passes the test and the test is true, it'll execute the very next line of code or the very next block of code as shown here. And we also saw that the way this is set up is if you pass, but we have no way of showing if you failed. One possible way of doing that is to add another if. And we'll copy pasta. So now we can see that if you have a greater than or equal to the passing score, you'll get a message saying you passed. We can say if your score is less than passing, you'll say you did not pass. And then the program continues on with thanks for attending class. So in the current score of 0, you did not pass. Thanks for attending class. If we bump this to an 80, you passed. Thanks for attending class. And that's one way of solving problems with multiple cases of things, is you can use a sequence of if statements, single selections, to select each possible case that might possibly happen. So no matter what the outcome is or what it is you're testing, you'd need to set up a separate if that handles each possible outcome of the test. Is the number less than 0? Is the number greater than 100? Is the number between 0 and 100? So if you're doing numbers crunching or string testing, this is one way of solving that problem. It is, however, a little bit on the inefficient side. This if statement will always execute. This if statement will always execute. And maybe we don't always want to be doing all of the testing. And you could possibly see that if you look at it, the more tests you get, the more work the program is going to continually do with each and every if statement that it has to execute through your problem. Well, a solution to that is something called the two-way selection. If each of these possibilities are not related, they're totally separate from each other, in other words, you can't be both passing and not passing, then we can use something called a two-way selection, which says, if this is true, do this. If it's not true, do this. And the answer to that is to eliminate the if section of it and replace it with an else. The standard format of that, by the way, looks like this. So it's an if this is true, do this. Else, or in my head I use the word otherwise, do this. So we only have one test that we have to execute and then two possible branches of code to make it work. And you'll see you passed. You did not pass. Just by doing this, we can now see that we can have an if, an else, and then two possible paths through the program. It's a fairly simple thing to do, and it's really kind of nice. Now, the nice thing about ifs and elses is you can stack these guys up. You can actually add more things to it. So if the score is passing, and then we could do another test inside here, or we could do another test inside here. For example, let's say we had a constant int high score. So now we've got another thing that we want to check for. If you passed and you got a high score, we want to give you a special message. So we now know that inside these statements, inside the if and the else, there's only one where that could possibly happen. You have to have been passing first. So we're going to come in and say it here. We'll do the you passed first, and then we'll put in another if. And now what will happen is it'll execute this if. If you've passed, it'll automatically print out that you passed. And then it can actually print out, did you get a high score? So you can see this is one way of giving us this answer. Now let's give ourselves a 98. And watch what happens. You passed. You received a high score. Thanks for attending class. So you can see that this branching can have, inside of each of these possibilities, inside the true path and inside the false path, you could actually put another test inside here, another if. And if you really wanted to, you could even put in an if else or whatever. These blocks of code that we see created, these blocks of code, can contain any of the code that you've done so far. So you can nest as many ifs as you want, as deep as you want inside your code. So I hope this gives you an idea of how to use an if and an else, and the fact that you can actually nest these things inside each other. So this is the basics of a two-way selection or an if-else statement in C++. Hope you're having a great day.